Hey there everyone, AJ back again for the Mighty Gluestick channel, your source for easy listening Dungeons & Dragons lore, except today. I'm not going to be talking about D&D exclusively. No, today I'm going to be talking a bit about Warhammer 40,000 and the Space Orks. That is, Ork with a K. I really wanted to make this video because Orks are one of my absolute favourite alien races of all time. Their ecology is amazing and very formidable because they are a species that is engineered for warfare. In the dark reaches of the distant future, the Orks are the most widespread and numerous species in the entire Milky Way galaxy. They are a species that lives for warfare. Their entire ecology and culture centers around war. Relentless expansion, and when not engaged in conflict with another species, they wage war among themselves. The Orks are biologically engineered species, created more than 60 million Terran years ago as a warrior race originally called the Orks, by the long-vanished reptilian alien species known as the Old Ones, or the Brainy Boys, whom the Orks refer to as the Brain Boys. The Orks were created by the Brain Boys to fight the Necrons and their Cthan masters in the great interstellar conflict called the War in Heaven that shattered the galactic civilization of the Old Ones that existed prior to the rise of the Eldar. Orks are green-skinned thanks to their unique genetically engineered blending of fungi and photosynthetic organisms. Orks are basically highly complex lichens, a symbiotic meld of fungus and plant cells, built along the general template of a humanoid. Orks are further genetically engineered for combat, bypassing the evolutionary process to create an extremely strong and immensely resilient warrior who lives for combat and regards fighting as the highest form of worship of their gods, Gork and Mork. Orks don't really care whom they fight, being as content to fight one another as any other of the various races inhabiting the galaxy. As such, Orks are extremely disorganized and fractious. Organized into clans, they adopt garish color schemes and symbols as their clan banners and decorate themselves, all armor, equipment and such, with similar colors and their clan symbol. They eat fungi of all kinds as well as meat, any kind of meat. They're not fussy. They're completely fine with chowing down on another intelligent humanoid as well. An Ork usually consumes mostly the squig, which is a small organism closely related to Orks in biological terms, forming a part of their unique self-contained engineered ecosystem. Squigs are comparable to mouths with two legs and are often coloured red. The squigs are designed to eat just about anything that the Ork fungus system can't eat directly. They are grown into food and sometimes used for other purposes, being very easily adapted by the Orks to fit into whatever other common service animal niche they might need. This is about as close as the Orks ever get to domestication of any animals. They do select for particularly vicious varieties of squig that have applications in combat, many such as attack dogs or living grenades. The only other major form of squig are the huge squigoths. Particularly large examples are used as mobile fortresses, while smaller such beasts serve as pack animals. No matter what form they're in, the squigs are dangerous creatures that are prone to eating any non-orc they come across, and of course, they're prone to mutation. Orks grow all through their lives. The average orc is hunched over all the time in a gorilla stance, but it stands about around the same height as an average human male, even hunched over. Orks grow at greatly varying rates, however, dependent on social conditions. The effect is notable in extremely aggressive orcs, which tend to grow much faster, for several reasons. First, due to the very specific nature of orcs' physiology, social structure, and the unique psychic gestalt, the orc survives combat and accumulates battle trophies. The respect of other orcs will produce an effect similar to adolescence in the human male. The orc puts on muscle, becomes more aggressive and assertive, growing in size. If an orc continues to be successful, gaining more respect, they may become a nob, which is short for noble. A leader of orcs, noticeably larger, tougher, stronger, and of a darker green than the average specimen. Once the orc begins to grow, it will generally keep getting bigger, stronger, and greener until another orc defeats it by whatever means. This indicates that the effects of adolescence in orcs continues indefinitely, but can be triggered on or off by defeat or success. Orcs achieve their theoretical pinnacle, socially at least, when a nob becomes a war boss or a warlord, the rulers of continents and empires. Such creatures are exceptionally large, often standing over 3 meters or 10 feet tall or higher, with the most known to reach up to twice that height. And although they achieve the highest possible rank at this point, as previously indicated, they continue to grow and become more green until they're almost black. While not indicated in the official lore, I have a theory that this pigmentation is both a social indicator among their culture and also allows the larger, stronger orcs to absorb more sunlight for internal photosynthesis of body sugars, providing more metabolic support that their diet alone can provide, which means the strongest and largest orcs are the last ones to perish from starvation. Again, a cleverly engineered trait that aids the overall survivability and lethality of the species. In the extremely unlikely event that they are not killed violently, orcs don't die of old age. Orcs seem to live longer the more powerful they are, with some truly legendary war bosses rumored to be hundreds of years old. But they live particularly brutal lives, far more so than any human could tolerate. Orcs appear to other humanoids to be male. They're actually asexual. They also lack a central nervous system as found in mammal species. Orcs do feel pain, but not the way you or I do, and they have no fear of death, which lends itself to their brutish behaviour and choice to always use a direct approach in combat. Their crossbreeding with fungal stems allows them to reproduce through a dispersion of spores from a decomposing orc corpse, such that killing an orc literally creates more orcs, which also explains why orcs are so difficult to fight and more so eradicate, and how they are often able to infiltrate and build up large populations virtually anywhere imaginable, from barren deserts to lush jungles to iron glass and stone cities. The only known solution to this problem is to incinerate the entire area. Because orcs are so genetically similar to plants and fungi, their diets are flexible in the absolute extreme. Orcs commonly harvest their own dead on the battlefield to create orcoid pie as a staple of orc diets. Orc body material can also be used as a yeast to brew orc grog, and even rendered down into basic plastics and petrochemical fuel. Orc spores develop a mycelium mass under the surface, if possible, voraciously converting minerals and liquids into more mass, then starting to spawn off cysts which are filled with squigs, which grow in cysts and erupt into the surface, consuming nutrients and spreading out in the environment, and then smaller orcoid Gretchen will form, followed by the first orcs. Orcs are genetically coded with instinctual information far in advance of a natural creature. They are spawned fully capable of using weapons, speaking, hunting squigs, and basic combat skills. As orcs grow and increase in number, their genetic information expands to include advanced structures, tactics, weaponry, vehicles, and medical science. Orcs don't learn how to harvest, smelt, and smith weapons. They just know how to do it instinctually. Now, I could discuss orc history, famous wars, orc technology, and the impressive space hulks, but instead I'll throw some ideas at you as to how you can include Warhammer 40k orcs in your Dungeons & Dragons game. I really hope you do so, because they're great fun. Okay, so in theory, they could be found pretty much anywhere, in any setting. They could come from some spores that were on a floating chunk of Space Hulk battle wreckage, turned into a snowball comet and plunging from space as a shooting star. The meteor could crash down to Earth and plunge into the Underdark, or slam into a ring of standing stones, or into the heart of an ancient elven city. In each case, the spores are corrupted by Underdark phase-res energy, or the primal magic of the standing stones, some fey influence, or the arcane focus of a powerful mythal. In any event, the orc DNA will no longer develop advanced technology such as petrol-driven vehicles, plasma guns, dropships, and the like. They are restricted to simple weapons, armor, and structures. The fungus spreads, spawns squigs and clever little goblin-like Gretchen, who gather food, scout out the area, build basic structures, and harvest ore to smelt into weapon and armor. Orcs begin to spawn and immediately set about establishing a base and attacking all of their neighbours. The orcs will grow different varieties of squig and alter themselves in response to the environment. They will have a basic social hierarchy of strongest orc tells weaker orcs what to do. They will use teeth for currency, the fangs. They will adopt a clan symbol. They will worship their gods Gork and Mork. These altered orcs will not be able to access the genetic memory of their high technology, but will be able to make use of any items, mundane, wondrous, or magical, that they find. Orcs lack individual psychic power, being denied such abilities by the old ones. However, they have a sort of a collaborative, collective psychic ability, meaning that if enough orcs believe something is true, then it actually becomes so. Similarly, orcs who would normally become tech boys will instead gain levels in sorcery. It will be very different and difficult for orcs to become druids or rangers. They're so at odds with the natural world. They are destructive artificial lifeforms after all. They will most likely take to the path of the warlock with some gusto. and the orcs are natural barbarians, with knobs taking more of a specialist fighter route. Gork and Mork will only start to grant some form of clerical powers once a sufficient number of orcs are alive and collectively believing that Gork and Mork can grant clerical powers. There doesn't need to be any actual deities for this to happen. The power is coming from all of the orcs' collective will. In a similar way, orc armor with skulls and flames on it grants more protection because orcs believe that it does. Axes with screaming demon head designs etched into the blades do more damage because the orcs believe that it is actually true. The larger the orc horde, the more power their collective beliefs generate. An invasion of orcs in your campaign would start off relatively slow, but will quickly gain momentum, and I suggest you progress the threat based entirely on how engaged with it your players become. If they're going off on important side quests, put the orcs expansion on a back burner until they get back around to it. Have well signposted milestones that signify a further advancement of the orc threat. For example, at low level, the orcs are simply a new menace that bothers some homesteaders and farmers. The squigs are weird creatures attacking livestock and eating crops. They could track down a few and encounter them with your first primitive band of Gretchens, hunting the squigs and capturing them for some hastily constructed squig pens. The characters could encounter some primitive orcs. Newly spawned and using basic spears and clubs, the orcs are curious about the world and wander far from the secure numbers of their clan, and players get a chance to witness and fight an orc, then take a closer look at their strange physiology. If they take a part of that orc body back to a local wizard or sage, they could uncover just how dangerous they are when spores germinate from the orc body parts. The orc will start to seek resources. They will raid a dwarven caravan of iron ingots or attack a forest for timber. Conflict with the demi-humans could get human allies involved, even forcing a temporary alliance between local rivals as they deal with a new, more urgent threat. Orc raids become increasingly aggressive and destructive. The orcs seem to be taking large amounts of food and stripping the area of all metal and timber. Investigation reveals that they are building huge pens and large siege weapons. There are a number of grossly mutated squigs that are gorging on massive amounts of protein. A local centre is attacked by a large number of orcs and some sort of huge war beast. The orcs are displaying proficiency with magic, blasting evocation spells and reducing fortifications to rubble and molten slag. Orc warriors seem to be of a different type now. Some are huge and formidable fighters. Not long after, orcs will be springing up all over the area they have been an active threat to. There will be a dominant aggressive clan on the warpath, destroying any opposition, and several new colonies of orc who take on different identities and clan colours. The players might learn that these new orcs are not automatic allies of the original orc clan, and when they are not united through a shared enemy, at least it may be possible to encourage internal conflicts between the orc territories. Eventually, the orc menace will evolve into a warg, a huge horde of orcs at war with everyone or anything that gets in its way. At this point, either the native peoples of the world unite against the orcs, or they get mowed down by a storm of orc blades. Probably the best way to deal with orcs is magic. Both arcane and divine work best for purging the land of the orc infestation through fire and fury. It is possible to save the world from an orc invasion. As an interesting side twist, it's possible that a sage studying the orcs somehow figures out some way to correct the genetic damage at one of the orcwards and restore some of their instinctual ability to create technological items. The catch, of course, is that it is mostly the belief of other orcs that allows these ramshackle junkyard constructs to even work in the first place, and certainly not for any non-orc. So it's gambling with fire with little payoff. However, it lays the groundwork for a possible end-of-the-world scenario, where some idiot seeks to use the power of the orcs and instead merely manages to lose control, unleash fully capable orcs, and watch the world fall to hails of slugger fire and high-explosive rocket barrages. I leave the rest up to you. Thanks for listening as always, and I'll be back again more for you very soon.